Welcome back to this special edition of Inside Indiana Business as we feature influential Indiana women. I'm IBJ editor Leslie Whitebetter. It's time now for Eye on Education. Dr. Lori White made history 2 years ago when she became the first woman and person of color to be named president of DePauw University. Her aha moment came when she visited Meharry Hall, where she checked out portraits of past presidents, and it hit her. She needed to step forward and change the image people have of leaders in higher education. And Dr. Lori White has done just that. For more on the challenges she's faced during the pandemic and what her vision is for DePauw, we are joined by Dr. Lori White. Dr. White, thank you for joining us.
So happy to be here, Leslie.
You came to DePauw at the start of the pandemic, and so you and maybe half of your students have only known the school in that light. I read that you said the pandemic, though, has reinforced the value of a liberal arts education. Can you elaborate on why that is?
I would be happy to. I've been nothing other than a pandemic president, and I very much believe the shining star of the pandemic was to reinforce the value of the education that DePauw provides. We're 100% residential university, and what students told us they missed most was the opportunity to study here on campus with our fabulous professors and be in community with their classmates. And when you also think about all of the tools that we had to use to respond to the pandemic, that's what a liberal arts education is all about, providing an interdisciplinary lens to be able to solve society's problems and challenges.
Do you think the pandemic will have some long-term effects on how you do things or how universities in general do things going forward?
I hope that it does. As they say, never waste a good challenge. So a couple of things we learned from the pandemic is higher education has a reputation of being very slow to change. And we were able to adjust quite quickly to moving all of our classes online in record time. And while DePauw will never be a fully online institution, we certainly have learned that we can deliver aspects of the student experience using virtual tools. So that's certainly one lesson that we learned.
I think these changes are going to be really important moving forward. I don't have to tell you that there is an enrollment cliff coming that universities have been talking about and worrying about, basically a population shift with fewer high school students graduating and going to college. There are some who think that's going to be especially difficult for private, smaller schools. But it sounds like maybe you are finding that the pandemic has changed the way you might be able to react to the enrollment cliff.
Well, certainly all of us are conscious of the enrollment cliff, and it's really important for us to reinforce the value of a liberal arts residential education. And at the same time, I think we have to be unafraid of liberal arts colleges to explore areas of study that perhaps traditionally we would not have offered at liberal arts colleges. Fields, for example, like business education and others that would not be typically offered at a residential liberal arts college.
Do you think that you are already seeing some of those changes from the enrollment cliff, and are you already having to make those adjustments?
Well, certainly we need to be ever conscious of the challenges, and we also have to think about how can we most make our education relevant to the students of today and the students of tomorrow to prepare them to lead in a rapidly changing and evolving world. And I think those institutions that are focused on future focused will be the ones that will survive most in this very competitive higher education environment.
We have just a few seconds, but I really wanted to see if you could reflect on that moment when you realized you wanted to come to DePauw and really change the look of a higher education leader. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I've spoken often about the call that I heard in historic Meharry Hall on the DePauw campus, which is where all of the portraits of DePauw's previous presidents hang, I'm president number 21. And as I looked at presidents 1 through 20 and realized none looked like me, I realized that in order for the universe to see leadership as perhaps different than what had been historically the case for college presidents, I needed to say yes when the offer came. And only 80% of college presidents don't look like me. I am African American, I am female, and I want all of our students to know what is possible.
Well, Dr. White, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Very much. Thank you so much, Leslie.